Hey everybody, it's your best friend George Racy, and I wanted to share some comics from my spinner rack. Some of them were already in my spinner rack, and some of them I just bought, and they will find a nice happy home in my spinner rack. So let's get right down to Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. This came out during the brief time. I got this out of the $5 box, which is fine because it strikes me as kind of a rare book. You don't see a lot of call for this kind of stuff. And 25 cents for about a year. DC did 25 cents, but only because Marvel jumped the number to 25 cents but they did it for 1 month, and DC followed suit, but they stayed way too long. The next month, Marvel went down to 20 cents. Instead of, it was 15 cents to 25 cents, and then down to 20 cents. It was kind of a dirty trick, but it worked because that was the time that Marvel finally surpassed DC in sales. So, but I love this book because it's got to be hard to find. It's not. I mean, this kind of thing is really. It's a very small, specific genre, and this is the first time in decades that I've seen anything like a gothic romance book. So it's a double-size issue, and the cover, I believe, is by Nick Cardy. And as I pointed out, DC had some really, really great cover art, and like they'd have Wrights, and they would have Nick Cardy, they would have Neil Adams, they would have others, and DC's were cool, but they were usually like Gil Kane polished up by John Romita, or you would have Ron Wilson inked by Frank Giacoia, and it had a superhero sheen to the cover. It really didn't drag you in, even if the interiors were, average or normal conventional comics. This these covers are what drew you in. So this is by Dorothy Manning, who I've never heard of before. This came out in 1972. Ernesto Chua and Vincent Coletta. In other words, Ernie Chan and Vince Coletta. And Vince Coletta was perfect for this because he did a lot of romance comics. So this seems ready-made for him. I like the little crimps he does on the pillow there. So it's this young couple that are thinking of buying this old mansion. And there's this real asshole who's there. He's sort of like the butler, but he has many other responsibilities. And he's always warning about stuff. And it's just like, maybe you should just forget about buying the thing. But a kiss solves everything. And he's just a real creep. Almost all the furnishings were sold by his lordship many years ago to keep from losing Coburn Manor. But in the end, you Shelton and people got it anyway for your motel. That's for a hotel. He's going to turn it into a hotel. So this guy's really upset because he wants it to stay a house. Lionel, what are you doing here? Your decanter of water, Biz. So should you get thirsty in the night? Put it down anywhere. I said, you may go now. I can't stand that man. The way he looks at me. Oh, if I think about him, I won't sleep. Oh, but she did, and her mind played havoc with her. Oh dear. And that's a pretty cool use of Zipatone on her figure beneath the nightgown. And there's the gray lady that they've been warned about. And she passes out because it's comics 1972. And it's funny, the romance aspect of it is only, it's only like, every chapter there's like 2 panels where they kiss, a couple kisses. And that's about as far as it goes, as far as the romance angle. Really good stuff. Really, really, really. See, Kissy makes everything better. And let me see. Suzanne's nerves was cracking. The removal of the corpse was almost unbearable. Brian, there's something in the house. The gray lady. Something. Now it wants to destroy us. I know it. Let's leave this place. I beg of you. There was that one guy who was hosting the party who passed out in the previous pages. I'm not going to go back. There. Yeah, see? Everything's all better for a couple panels. These stairs, this spiral staircase, it's, wow, it's weird. It's not very real. I mean, unless you were going to do the whole book in like this crazy style. So, and he stops. And it's Whitsley. It's not, who's another guy. He's not the guy who was giving him shit before. So it's like a mystery with some kisses. So, I mean, it's fun. It's pretty cool. I mean, this book didn't last long enough, so I may actually like try and collect it after I get a better condition version of this. I'm not nuts about condition, but something special like this, I definitely see it. And the Badger. Mike Barron created the Badger back in 82, or 83, or 81. And Jeff Butler designed the costume. And years later, there's a guy named, unrelated, named Steve Butler, who took over. And he did a great job on it. And then later on, Steve Butler graduated to Marvel. You know, the indies are usually the farm team for creative people. But what he did was, hiccup. He did get to do Silver Sable in the Wild Pack, and then he did a bunch of Spider-Man stories with the Clone Saga. So, you know, he's had some high-profile gigs, and I love his stuff. So it starts off with this. Essentially, it's John Belushi. It's a guy who's, you know, he's very indulgent, and he hires Badger, you know, the people he works for, like in the movies, to keep him off of drugs. Like he says hi to a friend. He goes, hey, Blue Tarsky, using his name from the movie Animal House. Give me 5. You're my wife's favorite comedian. Thanks, pal. So check that hand out. Hey, look at my hand. Sorry, Farley. I want to check for palm scratches. This is way before Chris Farley made a name for himself, so he just came out with that out of the blue. Oh, I may try to give you some drugs. Come on, you got stuff to wake up. Yeah, well, they told me you've been up 3 days. And there's always temptation around. He goes, well, Jeff, may I call you Jeff? You're the truly beautiful cat, but if you get my friend Farley any more bad drugs, why don't you take a case of hives and leave? Wait, why don't you make like a case of hives and leave? Whatever. I had to break something. My CD player. And that's back when CD players were expensive. No streaming at the time. So I think I was being a dick. It's taken out. And he actually gets this Blue Tarsky off drugs, and they jog, and he's losing weight. And he's like, I'm a lean, mean fighting machine. I gotta make a kung fu movie. So I'm gonna make you a star. I've heard that before. Grimjack's a good book. La 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 la. I like this. It's last guy's cosplaying as Judah Maccabee from Nexus, and great choreography. Badger always has great choreography because Mike Barron, he has a black belt in several disciplines of karate and kung fu and such, so he would send reference to his artists sometimes, but. No, god damn it. Blue Tarsky fell into his old ways, ran into an old friend, and it's tragic, but it's well written. So Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, I love this book. Never been reprinted except for in this big fat showcase black and white comic that came out like 20 years ago, and I'm like, please, color, please. So this is issue 20, the last issue. We admit it, we sold out. At the time, the Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans, were white hot. They were like the biggest book at DC. So they decided the last issue, they would throw him in. And there's tons of puns in here. But, animal-related puns like the president's name is Mallard Fillmore instead of Miller Fillmore. Nelson Bridwell, longtime employee of DC, does the plotting. Joe Cavalieri does the writing, and he's really good stuff. He edited me on Future's End. Rick Hoberg, yeah, and Carol Lay, great team. Rick Hoberg, he did the first, he did some of the early What Ifs with Roy Thomas back in the 70s, and then he went on to do the last couple issues, finishing over Howard Chaykin's pencils for Star Wars, the original adaptation. And this art is so great. It's like Hoberg, not everybody can do funny animals and normal animals too, so Changeling turns into a mouse. Poor horrible misshapen devil. Let's not be judgmental. Just not be judgmental, Bigfoot. No way are you the face of the 80s. I never seen a mouse like you before. That was going to be my line. Let's go see Captain Carrot. You need to have superhero vegetables in this world. It's just tremendous fun. And Gorilla Grodd's he's at the bottom of all the crap that's going on in this issue. So, to blend in, Changeling turns into a funny animal instead of a literal image of an animal on our Earth. I think this is Earth C for Carrot, or I don't know what. And, hey, where did you suddenly come from? The stork brought me. Actually, I came from a world where that's no joke. You see, there was a cat, and anyway, there was a rabbit. This rabbit, and I met a mouse. I just need to get some fresh air. And Little Cheese, who has the power of Ant-Man, basically, joins. And then they followed up with a 6-part miniseries by Roy Thomas, E. Nelson Bridwell, Joe Cavalieri, and Carol Lay doing the art. And this has never been reprinted in color. Now, these issues are double size. That was basically 12 issues, double size. And I'd love to see them all reprinted, because funny animals are good in color, not black and white. Journey into Mystery. Beautiful Kane cover. I'm guessing it's Kane and Dan Adkins, because they did a lot of covers together. This was an old title, came out in the late 50s, and it became Thor's book, and it changed to Thor, and now this is a second volume, Jack the Ripper, and it's taken from Robert Bloch, his book. Gil Kane, Ralph Reese. Ron Goulart, I know that name, but yeah, so you've got the indicia here. And you have Stanley publisher and Roy Thomas editor. For a brief time, that was the credits. And then later on, they just dropped Stan Lee, except they'd have Stan Lee Presents at the top. But, man, that's beautiful art. Ralph Reese over Gil Kane. It's just insane. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Nobody does energy short of Kirby, like Gil Kane does. I guess see if I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. What? This is George Alec Effinger and Billy Graham, one of the first African American artists who worked at Marvel, who did Luke Cage Power Man, helped co-create Luke Cage Power Man. So it's a pretty good story. It's kind of hard to compare, you know. Let's see. Okay, now we go to the meat and potatoes. which is the Defenders. Beautiful Kirby cover laid out by somebody, because Kirby wasn't doing he didn't do layouts on the covers of books that weren't his own. Steve Gerber got the boot. He did the last issue 41 because I think the sales on Defenders were stagnating a bit, and Conway, who took over as writer-editor, he decided, well, let's get back to fight scenes because they're dressed like superheroes, so let's have some superheroing going on. Okay, Jerry Conway, Keith Giffen, and Klaus Janson. He's the inker and the colorist, and that's a great combination. He's a fantastic colorist. So, see, we're getting those back muscles. I guarantee you Keith Giffen didn't do those because they're very complex. And that's a very Keith Giffen panel above. I used to like those fists at the first panel. I used to draw that all the time because it's a shorthand, so to speak. It's easy to do. And man, these two panels here are really ambitious. You see an overhead shot, and then you see the rhino in both places, but it's, he would be way up here if they continue that panel layout. But nope. It's beautiful stuff. Really clever. That's the thing about like earlier comic artists or one who do early stuff. They get really adventurous, and then later on they're like, oh well, I gotta improve my game, and I gotta draw like everybody else or like a standard. But some of these guys, like, does that make any sense? Yeah, it does, Drew. There's the Eggman. Now, here's another one of Giffen's tropes that I loved, like that hand right there that Egghead has. He continues the next panel. In fact, he doubles down on it. I used to draw that all the time because it was easy. And a little bit of a flashback. And the Red Raja possesses Doctor Strange, the gem. And here comes the Cobalt Man. Oh my god, I love that character. He first appeared in, I think, X-Men 31, and he basically was a blue version of Iron Man. He looked exactly like Iron Man with blue. So Herb Trimpe or John Romita Sr., I don't know, redesigned him. He looks so much better there. Oh, and he appeared in Hulk 173 and 174. And I implore you to seek those out. So, well, let's see. Nope, there's another hand. So, good old like Wallywood kind of double lighting. Inked and colored by Klaus Janson. So, let me know what you think. Let me think. Are you a diehard Defenders fan? Did you like the change? Have you read any of these adaptations from books? There's a whole bunch of others, and another title called Worlds Unknown. Were you the Captain Carrot, or did you think it was dumb? Did you dig the Badger? And what do you think of this? Have you ever seen this in the wild? I've been collecting comics for 50 years now, and I've never seen anything like this. So let me know what you think. And I will talk to you later.